Summer is here in California, and it's time for me to go back to Quince and order some summer shorts. Quince European linen pants and shirts are also perfect for a warm weather upgrade to add to your rotation, starting at just $34. Their tees are soft and easy to wear, and their lightweight cotton sweaters are perfect for cooler summer nights. I just hit checkout on a pair of Clubhouse golf shorts, which I think will be good for traveling, and I don't even golf. Quince also goes way beyond clothing. They have custom upholstered sofas, ceramic cookware, premium bedding. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middleman, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Elevate your summer wardrobe. Go to quince.com/traveler for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's quince.com/traveler for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler. And thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. This episode is sponsored by Smart Travel, a new podcast from NerdWallet. You know that one friend who always finds the best travel deals, picks the right cards, and somehow ends up in first class for the price of coach? Smart Travel is like that friend, but in podcast form. They cover all things finance, like how to book busy season trips without the busy season sticker shock, which airport lounges are worth it and which are basically free Wi-Fi and chairs, how travel advisors can snag secret perks you don't even know to ask for, and how to get real value from points, not just a tiny reward at checkout. The nerds at NerdWallet know this stuff better than me, and that's why I feel great about recommending the Smart Travel podcast. After all, we nerds have to stick together. Travel smarter and spend less with the help from NerdWallet. Follow Smart Travel wherever you get your podcasts. Amateur Traveler, episode 1002. Today, Amateur Traveler talks about museums and markets, cafes and gardens, neighborhoods and viewpoints as we go to Paris, France. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler. Let's talk about Paris. I'd like to welcome to the show Angela J. Reed from Parisienne Farmgirl at ParisienneFarmgirl.com. Little trick with the spelling of the URL, so check that out in the show notes where I will link to it. Angela, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. Yeah, I had to be difficult when I created that website. I had to go with that feminine spelling of Parisian. I thought it looked beautiful. Go. So
it's very French forward there. I appreciate that. And not surprisingly, you pitched me that we haven't done a show on Paris, much to my surprise, since 2014. So we're going to talk about Paris.
Yay. It's my favorite thing to talk about.
What is your connection with Paris? Why did you become Parisienne Farmgirl? You're clearly not from Paris originally.
That is a great question. I have beloved grandparents that had a family farm that I would spend summers at, and then was introduced to French culture by way of, like many, a high school French teacher, and just fell in love with it. Just fell in love with the culture, the language. I was terrible at the language back then, for the record. Absolutely awful. And it's just been a love that's been growing just year after year. Every year I love it a little bit more.
Excellent. I feel silly asking this, but why should someone go to Paris?
I love that question. So I think we have about 45 minutes or so to talk about that. Here's the thing about Paris. I believe it's maybe the number one, if not in the top 3 travel destinations, top tourist destinations in the world. It is alive. It has a rhythm of its own. And I think when you visit Paris, you get to become part of that rhythm. You really can become a part of what's happening there, especially if you plan your trip well, which we'll talk about today. It's got so much to offer. Obviously, you have the history, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century history. You can go even further back to Roman history. It has the visual aesthetic, the beautiful limestone buildings, the slate roofs, the terracotta chimney pots against a periwinkle sky, a blue sky. We say, I love Paris when it drizzles. I love Paris when it sizzles for a reason. It's beautiful. It's beautiful all the time. And the food, the people, I love the people. Talk about that. Also, there's so much happening there. We each bring something unique to the table. And we each have our own interests that make us uniquely us. And we can take that into this amazing city and make our time there uniquely ours. Are you into exercise? Go on a bicycle tour of Paris or rent bicycles at Giverny or Versailles. Are you a home cook? Take a cooking class. Are cigars your thing? Do a cigar and rum pairing workshop. Are you a woman that loves fragrance? Go to a perfume course and create a signature scent that you get to come home with. And like forever, you have that olfactory memory to connect to your time there. Over and above all the cliche tourist guide things there are to do, Paris can be totally customized for you. And that's something I really love about it. You get to create your unique memory and your unique experience while you're there.
Excellent. And what itinerary are you going to recommend for us?
I'm going to take you through all the basics and give you my sometimes very strong opinions on those basics.
Okay.
My first trip to Paris was a week. It was just
Mhm.
7 days, including arriving and departing. It was brief. And so I know that feeling of just being so excited and feeling like I needed to cram in so much, but really wanting to do it well. And I think you can pack in a lot more in 7 days than you think you can. You want to do it well and you want to do it wise. You can hit those big tourist highlights and you can find those intimate moments in Paris that make you want to come back again and again.
Okay, let's start with the details. Where are we going to go first?
We're going to look at museums. Take
There's
the
a
Louvre.
few.
There's a few. There's a few. Take the Louvre, for example. I think a lot of
Mhm.
people feel like they have to avoid the Louvre because it's so big and it's so
Mhm.
intimidating. And some people put it down. Oh, do this one instead. Do this one instead. I think if you're going to Paris for the first time in particular, you're morally obligated to go to the Louvre. You got to do it. And I think it's okay to be in and out, quite frankly. I think it's okay to say, look, it's my first time. I want to see the Mona Lisa. I want to see
Mhm.
Venus de Milo. I want to see the Winged Victory. I call those the big three.
Yep.
And along the way, though, you're going to see so much. If time is of the essence, then I think a Sunday morning is a great time to go to the Louvre. There's a reason that robbery took place on a Sunday morning. Really? Paris is asleep on a Sunday morning. Anytime I watch a movie and the streets are just totally empty, like I know that was filmed on a Sunday morning. It's quite quiet. You grab that 9 o'clock ticket online and have the place to yourself for a little while before the crowds start to come. You're going to see so much. I personally have this problem with websites or people poo-pooing the more cliche things to do. I think they're a great thing to do your first time. And scheduling in advance is highly recommended. What I tell my guests is use the actual website to whatever you want to do. So use the
Okay.
Louvre website, use the Notre Dame website, use Versailles website. Don't use the outside travel websites. I think it's best to go to the actual source and get your tickets. And there's also the Paris Museum Pass, I believe it's called, where you can do a 1-day, 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, where you can go for those consecutive days in a row and visit multiple churches and museums. Those are really great.
And besides the Louvre, do you have a favorite museum?
I do love the Musée d'Orsay, and I love the Cluny.
That is a beautiful museum. Yeah.
I do love the Cluny Museum as well. So the Musée
Interesting.
d'Orsay is your post-impressionist, your impressionist
Mhm.
museum in the old train station. A great time to go to that is Thursday evening. It's open late.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they often have fabulous expositions. Right now, I think through this summer, Renoir and Love is happening. They do such a nice job with their expositions. They're not overwhelming. If you go on a Thursday evening, you'll have time to do the exposition and see a good portion of the rest of the museum.
Mhm.
And then it's nice to go out for dinner and discuss what your favorites were.
And we mentioned people saying skip the Louvre, go to another museum. I would say that is probably the number one museum that they pick because
Yes.
it is a more manageable museum in terms of scale. The Louvre is huge. You're not going to see everything at the Louvre, and you just need to understand that.
No, and that's why I think, say you have coffee table books at home or you've been studying art and you have certain pieces at the Louvre that you want to see, map those
Mhm.
out, get a feeling for which floor they're on, plan your strategy, get it done, and then look around at the crowds or your stomach growling or your feet aching or whatever, and think, okay, now do we want to stay? Now we've checked the boxes. Now do we want to stay and meander and do the Egyptian or what have you?
Right.
Yeah. And the Louvre is great that you have great restaurants, the terrace that you can sit out on. So you can stay for a while, wonderful gift shops. You can stay for a while and decompress in between things. But I think it's nice to get done what you want to see and then decide how much longer you want to stay rather than trying to do the whole thing with that intention.
You also mentioned that if you go at Sunday morning, it's less crowded. There are crowds at the Mona Lisa, but a lot of the Louvre, there are no crowds at all. It's such a big museum. So it's the big three that you mentioned are going to be a little more crowded than the sculpture gallery or something like that.
Exactly.
Excellent.
And I've had that beautiful hall with the staircase and everything where the Winged Victory is just about to myself before, based on timing. So just it depends on what you want to make a beeline for right when you get in the building. Whatever is most important for you, just have your moment with that piece of art. If you're really looking for a moment, sometimes it's quite emotional to see something like that for the first time. So,
and then you mentioned the Cluny as well.
The Cluny is the Middle Ages Museum, and that is on the Boulevard Saint-Germain, I believe, and it's built on an old abbey. There's actually Roman baths underneath, which is great. It's twofer. So you can see these wonderful examples of Middle Ages religious art, 400 AD copies of the Bible, all this old church history of France, and so much more. And then the Roman baths underneath, which is really cool. I like to get a bit of the ancient history while I'm there too. And the Cluny Museum is, I don't think it's as popular as other museums, but I personally really enjoy it. And I think it's a great opportunity for you to see some very old goodies. The Cluny is also the home of the Lady and the Unicorn tapestry series, which people might not know by name, but visually they think, oh, I've seen that before. And again, with the 1st and 2nd century Roman baths, I think it can't be beat. Down in the baths, during the Revolution, they pushed many of the statues off of Notre Dame on rebellion against religion onto the ground. And so those broken statues are down there as well. So it's really, really
I did not know that.
Yeah.
In favorite museums, I feel like I should give a nod to the L'Orangerie, which is one of my favorites if you love the Monet Museum.
Absolutely.
Sorry, if you love the works of Monet, because it doesn't have a lot of pieces of art, but it has the water lilies and these huge paintings where you walk into a room and each wall is one painting. So it's a very stunning museum. Doesn't take that long to see.
No, it doesn't. Absolutely. That's definitely should be on the list.
Excellent. What else are you going to put on your itinerary here?
I am going to put two places that I'm rather partial to, the Conciergerie and Sainte-Chapelle. Those are close to each other, which is something else I would really encourage somebody who's going for their first time anytime, but in particular their first time, is to cluster what you're going to do. So it makes really no sense to start the morning off in Montmartre and then head over to the Bastille to say you saw it and then finish up at the Eiffel Tower. It's so much travel time. It's not that far as the crow flies, but a lot of travel time. It doesn't make sense. It's better to take your neighborhood or your arrondissement and see what's there and cluster your day accordingly. So let's jump to the Champs-Élysées, for example. Say you want to do this big, fabulous, fashion-forward boulevard.
Okay.
While you're there, think about what's in the general vicinity. We have the Eiffel Tower. You have, for those who like fashion, the Dior exhibit is a really great exhibit that's been ongoing for a few years now. The Rodin Museum, I highly recommend. That's one of my favorites. The Rodin Museum, all of that's within the same area. Les Invalides, which is the military hospital where Napoleon is entombed. And they also have just a phenomenal display of old military artillery. So by clustering your activities for the day, you're not ping-ponging all over the city and wasting a lot of precious time. I think that can be a really strategic move for a first-time visitor.
And in terms of getting around, I assume we're going to rent a car for Paris, right?
No, not unless you're really brave. Now, I come from Chicago, and I always look at the Parisians driving, and I think, I wonder if I could do that. Don't do that. It is a very pedestrian-friendly city. So I would say walk as much as you can. And they have phenomenal public transportation. So the metro is safe and easy to use. And there's the corresponding bus system, which has a similar concept. It's the great 2026. We have YouTube. I might even have a video of how to use the metro, but it's pretty easy to get a feel after a couple stops on how to do that. And if public transportation isn't your thing, Uber is easy and fast, and you can have an Uber to you within about 2 or 3 minutes.
Although I did enjoy the look on your face when I suggested renting a car.
It looks fun, but I don't know.
This guy knows nothing.
Don't do that.
No,
don't do that. Yeah.
The only thing I would say about the metro is we did have a friend we took to Paris for the first time, and he was pickpocketed as soon as we got to the metro. So just keep your wits about you and your valuables secure.
Absolutely.
As with a lot of European capitals, you're not in any danger,
right.
But there are pickpockets about.
Yeah, you're not in danger per se, but you do need to be savvy. I do suggest a crossbody bag. They have the protective slips even for your credit cards, so they can't even be scanned through your purse, through your bag, through your wallet. It is important to be mindful of who's bumping up against you and just keep your wits about you and don't underestimate their skill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If somebody starts talking to you and you start feeling like, oh, there's a little distraction going on, just have a plan where if you're with a group, keep an eye on my things. If someone starts talking to me, just be mindful.
Excellent. You started to suggest things that were on Ile de la Cité, the oldest part of the city. You mentioned Sainte-Chapelle, which I'm surprised how many people don't know about it. And it is one of my favorite spots in the city.
Yeah. Again, I think Sainte-Chapelle is similar to The Lady in the Unicorn Tapestries, where people are cognizant of it through just osmosis. They've seen it somewhere. The stained glass at Sainte-Chapelle is beautiful. If you're someone who likes to maybe sketch, this is a great place to bring your sketchbook and just plop down on the floor in a corner, spend a little time. It is just stunning. And next door you have the Conciergerie, which is where Marie Antoinette was held before she was executed. This first room that you walk in is just arresting. It's very simple and very plain, but it's simply arresting in its scale and its architecture. There's often an exhibit going on there. For example, one year I went and they had it all partitioned off for many different artists, and there were these huge bags of sand. And they were making these sand creations. And I mean like beds with rumpled sheets and tufted pillowcases. Phenomenal. If there's not something going on there, when you check in, you can opt into having a sort of iPad device and you can hold it up and scan the room and it'll show you what the room looked like hundreds of years ago. Which is so cool because they explain to you that this was a banquet hall and this is where knights would eat. And so it's so cool. It shows these giant fireplaces with a fire burning. And from there, you can go on and find the chapel that Marie Antoinette used when she was imprisoned. And you can stand in her actual cell where she spent her final days. And I'm a big fan of the Queen. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I have not been to the Conciergerie. That's a great
lot of people miss it. They just don't even realize it's there. And right across the road is a wonderful cafe. A part of being in Paris, of course, is just phenomenal people watching, right? I believe the cafe is called Les Deux Palais, the Two Palaces. And it's a wonderful place to grab a meal when you're done there.
Excellent.
As I've mentioned before, being a guy, and especially of my generation, skincare was not something we really focused on. OneSkin has become a part of my daily routine, and I do like the way that it makes my skin feel. We've talked about OneSkin before and why it stands out. It's not hype or fancy packaging, it's real science. The founders are longevity researchers who developed OS1, a proprietary peptide designed to target zombie cells, which are linked to visible skin aging like wrinkles and loss of elasticity. Instead of just masking signs of aging, OneSkin works at the source to support healthier, stronger skin. Born from over a decade of longevity research, OneSkin's OS1 peptide is proven to target the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthiest skin now and as you age. For a limited time, try OneSkin with 15% off using code TRAVELER at oneskin.co/traveler. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code TRAVELER. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support this show and tell them I sent you. And remember, Traveler is spelled with one L the US way. And thanks to OneSkin for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. When people hear that Mint Mobile plans are only $15 per month, a lot of people wonder what's the catch. Well, I can tell you there isn't one. There are no gimmicks and no gotchas, just unlimited talk, text, and data, fast, reliable coverage on the nation's largest 5G network, and an award-winning care team. I guess that makes Mint Mobile a catch. You can even bring your current phone and your number, choose from 3, 6, or 12-month plans, and say goodbye to a monthly bill. Before Mint Mobile asked about being a sponsor in the show, I was already looking at Mint Mobile because what they offer, the same towers, the same service for less money, was something that appealed to me. After years of overpaying for wireless, I finally got fed up with crazy high wireless bills, bogus fees, and free perks that actually cost more in the long run. So I ask you, don't you have something better to do with your money? To get your wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/traveler. That's mintmobile.com/traveler. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/traveler. That's it. There's no catch. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on an unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. And thanks to Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
Where to next? Did we want to do anything? There's at least one other things that a lot of people like to get to on Ile de la Cité before we leave there.
Notre Dame, of course, like the Louvre, you're morally obligated to check out Notre Dame, especially since she's still standing. That is something that you can reserve tickets for online. One of the questions I get the most is, can I go there? Can I attend a service there? And you can. If that's not your faith, then of course be respectful, but you can get in the queue 20 to 30 minutes before the service and actually attend a service there if you'd rather do that than something ticketed.
Okay. Anything else in that vicinity while you got us there?
Ooh. There is a great restaurant on the Ile de Saint-Louis. So right behind Notre Dame, there's another island, and there's a pedestrian bridge right there, and there's this wonderful little intersection with 3 different restaurants. And I'm quite partial to the Saint-Regis. It looks like St. Regis in English.
Okay.
And I know there's many fans of the show called The Diplomat, and there's a scene in The Diplomat where they head to Paris and eat lunch, and that's actually filmed at that restaurant. The staff is phenomenal. They're friendly. They're fun. I go there every time. We're on a first name basis now. They just have this knack for recognizing you. You go once or twice and they remember you the next time you're there. The menu is easy to absorb as a tourist. Of course, there's tips for reading the menus as well. But when I go or I'm taking someone, I'm looking for that experience that ticks all the boxes. It gives them all the feels. And this cafe has the lighting and the distressed mirrors and the marble floor. The tile, this restaurant does that.
Now, Paris has a reputation.
Okay.
You love the people of Paris. You've already established that. And you talked about how great the people are here. I've been at least in one Parisian restaurant where those of us who spoke some high school French, not good French, but some high school French, the waiter only would talk to us. What is your experience with, especially right now, wait staff in Paris? Because the Parisians are to France as New York is to the U.S., and they have the reputation of being a little more brusque, let's say.
Intense, as it were. I have my French friends are always like, Paris isn't France. I'm like, I know, but some of us love it. Yeah. So I've had some encounters with the waitstaff that weren't all that great, but I live in a really small town, and I've had encounters with the waitstaff here that weren't all that great. We're not in Kansas anymore. So I think it's really important to set aside your American expectations and acknowledge, just even inside, that you're in someone else's space. You're in a foreign country and do as they do. There is a magic word in France, and it's not please. There's a magic word that makes everything so much better, and that is bonjour. And if you want to put a little extra oomph to it, you'll say bonjour, madame, or bonjour, monsieur. As foreign, pardon the pun, as foreign as that feels, it might feel a little bit over the top. It might feel a little bit formal. That is the key to every conversation. I have a funny story about that maybe later. But even at a restaurant, they're hustling. Being a waiter in France is a career. They take their job very seriously. You might catch someone on an off day, but if you're polite and you say bonjour, monsieur, you're going to actually get their attention a little bit. Okay, this person's going to try. And as far as things like menus, we have this wonderful thing called Google Translate, where
Yes,
you can hold that phone over your menu and translate it so you actually know what you're ordering. And just, again, we aren't in Kansas. You might not be able to get ice with your pop, with your soda.
No free refill, but
no free refills. Things are going to be a little bit different. And I think it's important to study up on those customs so you come in without the wrong expectations.
Well, and as you mentioned the magic word, so especially coming into a small shop, I would say that is very important. Excellent.
Yeah.
Where to next?
Don't be afraid to call it out when you walk in. Bonjour, madame. Like, they'll love you. Yeah.
Excellent. Where to next?
I think we should go to Montmartre for at least half of the day. It's so beautiful. Again, anytime you can get somewhere in the morning, it's going to be less busy. Montmartre is on the hill. You can see it from just about anywhere in the city. That's where the church, the Sacré-Cœur, is. And it's very iconic. It's a wonderful, charming neighborhood. It is like its own town. It's just only in the last however many years, 100 years or so, connected so much to the city. It has little winding streets. It has an original windmill. You have the church. You have fabulous little neighborhoods. And I think it's really important once you've seen the church, which is stunning in all its gold interior glory, to go down the butte, which is called, go down the hill and into the neighborhood and do some exploring. Wonderful shops, little restaurants.
And you say down the hill, so we're looking at the church. You're setting us off to the left.
Yeah, I'm actually sending you down the steps. Yeah.
Okay.
Down the step. There's a carousel down at the bottom, and then just start exploring from there.
Got it.
And if you are taking the metro up, let's see, the metro stop is Abysses, I think. You can get off there right in the heart of it. You can see the church. It's pretty easy to find from there, but then you avoid climbing the stairs to get to the church. If you do end up needing to climb up the hill, there is a funicular, a little elevator type train thing that will take you up.
Anything in particular besides wandering and looking at the artists and sitting in cafes that we want to do on Montmartre?
You have the Place du Tertre, which is your square, more touristy, but it is fun. There's artists that will sketch your picture for you. Montmartre actually has its own little vineyard. So in October, they will harvest those grapes, and there is a festival. And it's great that we're talking about that. That's another thing, to take the month that you're traveling and look at what Paris is offering. So there is going to be like this Montmartre wine festival. There are jazz festivals. There's all sorts of different things going on throughout the year, again, that can sync up with those individual hobbies and interests you might have that can really help customize your time there.
And do you have a favorite time of year to be there or one to avoid?
I go in the spring and in the fall. So I'm there end of March to middle of April. So I was just there. And then in the fall, I'll be there again for a few weeks, September into October. Next year, I'll be there the entire month of like mid-September to mid-October. Spring and fall, I think, is really ideal. June and July, it can be really warm, and there's going to be a lot of tourists. August, there's this cliche idea that the city shuts down in August. It does and it doesn't. The big museums and things aren't going to close. Smaller shops and restaurants might be closed for a couple of weeks during that time, but it will be very heavy tourists. And then as far as climate goes, it is important to remember that it can be not as cold, but similar to Chicago in that if you go in the winter, it's not going to be 68 degrees. It's going to be 35 or whatever. So depending on your tolerance for feeling adventurous with the weather. A couple more things I would do is like a tour of the Opera Garnier to see the inside of that. It's absolutely beautiful. The outside's under construction right now, but you could even go see a show there. That's easy to do. There's often the ballet or an opera is there. Easy to get tickets for that. And if you can't, or if something they're playing that week really isn't your vibe, then I would do a tour of the interior, a guided tour. Phenomenal. Okay. Yeah. There's also, if you do want to see an opera or a ballet, there's also the Opera Bastille, which is a little bit more like the Everyman's Opera.
Okay.
And so like I went a few weeks ago, and that was my first time, and I was even surprised a few people in jeans, which shocked me. I was like, oh, I didn't know we were taking Everyman like that. Literally, I thought we were the opera, but that's really a great place to see something. I just saw Tosca there a few weeks ago. Excellent.
And since this is Paris, were they at least black jeans?
No, in fact, they were just very casual. It was probably the most casual I've seen Parisians, in fact. So, yeah, very interesting. Yeah. I guess it comes with the name, the Bastille. Of course, the Eiffel Tower.
Mm-hmm.
But before the Eiffel Tower, let's talk about the Champs-Élysées, because we have this world-famous boulevard, very fashion-forward, pedestrian paradise, double, triple wide, huge sidewalks available for walking. And I think a mistake that first-time visitors can make after reading their guidebooks or whatever is feeling like, okay, we're going to walk from the Place de la Concorde all the way to the Arc de Triomphe, which is the entire expanse of the Champs-Élysées. And that's just too far. I would not do that. If you're a walker and you're down for it, sure, but that is really far. And if you just want to say that you've been to this wonderful boulevard and you've experienced it and you've done the Arc de Triomphe, my pro tip is take the metro to the Roosevelt stop. That's on line 1, and get out there. Once you come out, you'll see La Durée. Everybody wants to get their macaron, their little famous colorful cookie. There's Chanel, there's Dior, there's places where you can rent, don't do it, but luxury cars and drive around the city. And then you can walk towards the Arc de Triomphe and go under the underground passage and experience that. And I would go to the top. It's a phenomenal view.
Okay.
It's a great workout if you've been eating a lot of croissant, because you'll take a spiral staircase all the way to the top. And the view is spectacular. I know the Eiffel Tower is so high on everyone's list, and that's wonderful, and you should do it. But I do tell everyone, you can't see the Eiffel Tower from the Eiffel Tower.
That is true.
So you can see it beautifully from the Arc. You can see it beautifully from the hill at Montmartre, which you will be able to enjoy the sunrise when you do that. So I would definitely do the Champs-Élysées, but don't try to walk the whole thing, especially if time is of the essence.
Okay. Anything we need to know that we don't already know about the Eiffel Tower in terms of tackling it?
I think the top level, in my opinion, is very crowded and overrated. So again, if you're maybe someone who's a little bit claustrophobic, or you're thinking, okay, we're doing 4 things today, and one of them is the Eiffel Tower, you don't need to go to the top. Yes, the view is spectacular. There's other fabulous views in Paris. The second level is, for me, is sufficient. There are bars there. You can get a glass of champagne, do a toast, relax. There's places to sit. There are restaurants. There's really charming gift shops, souvenir shops. So I know when you're walking around the city, it's easy to see all these souvenir shops set up and feel like, oh, I got to stop here. I got to stop there. I think it's nice to just save that for one fell swoop. When you get somewhere, just do all your souvenir shopping. And I think the Eiffel Tower is a great place to do that. As far as you can't see the Eiffel Tower from the Eiffel Tower, it is worth going up in it, though, because to see the bolts and the rivets and the way it was constructed up close is really phenomenal. It's been painted a variety of colors over the years. Sometimes they'll have an exhibit showing you all the different colors that it's been painted. And it's definitely something you need to do that first time. It does light up on the hour. Twinkle lights. It's spectacular. And I think the best place to enjoy that is to do a good old-fashioned cliche boat cruise on the Bateau Mouche. A dinner cruise, there's live music. And I really think that the vantage point architecturally from the river, looking up at all the bridges and this different viewpoint, it really can't be beat, especially for your first trip. And then they circle around, and at the very end, they time it just to show up when the Eiffel Tower goes off, and you can go up on the top deck and take your pictures, and it's quite lovely.
You mentioned there were alternative places for views, and you already mentioned the Arc de Triomphe, but is there something else that's your favorite spot for a view?
I meant to look this up before I came on the show, because I was speaking with a chef last week there, and she pointed to a building and recommended it. And I'll be darned if I can remember the name of this building. It's got a big rooftop. It's not one of the department stores. We were over in the Marais. And so if we were on the left bank facing the Marais, it was way over on our right. Maybe I'll see if I can get that name for your show notes, because she said the view was actually the best in the whole city, because it's 4-sided and you can see absolutely everything.
Excellent.
I just remembered that.
What else are we going to do in Paris?
We're going to eat. We're going to eat. I think it's great to do a little research before you go and discover what those quintessential dishes are. I think you should absolutely try something classic like steak au poivre, duck confit. And I tease people, I make them try escargot for the first time. If you're with me, you have to try escargot. I've never not converted someone.
It's really just a delivery mechanism for butter and garlic.
Butter and garlic. Exactly. Of course, Paris has its things that we Americans love. We love the butter. We love the bread. We love the ice cream because their dairy products are just to a standard that we don't exactly have.
Cheese, but
we're going to eat a lot of cheese, and you can go into on the Rue Mouffetard, for example. There's cheesemongers everywhere, but they will vacuum pack it, so you can bring some home. I tell people too, if you're walking, let's say you're out walking for the afternoon, which I think you should walk as much as you can, and you see Parisians standing in front of a bakery in line, get in that line because they know something you don't know. Maybe it's that fresh baguettes are coming out at 5 p.m, but just watch what they're ordering, order what they order, and it will not disappoint you. Yeah.
You mentioned a couple specific restaurants. Any other ones that you have that are favorites?
So on the Boulevard Montparnasse area is Hemingway country, as it were.
Okay.
And I know a lot of Americans are fans of Hemingway. And I have had multiple times where I have taken people to this restaurant that are seasoned Paris visitors and they've never been here. I like it because I think it's a classic cafe. It is called Le Select. And we were just talking about the wait staff. They're wonderful. They're so much fun. The maître d' is so accommodating and lovely and excellent people watching. You're on the Montparnasse Boulevard, so you've got this big expansive street before you, excellent people watching, and visually this cafe is giving you everything. It's got the tile, it's got all the brass, it's very sparkly and cozy. It's a lovely place to go late in the evening. I think it's open 24/7 all year long. Yeah. That's lots of fun. And I would say if you're walking past something and it looks good or it smells good, just stop in. That's how I discovered Saint-Régis, the St. Regis on the Ile de la Cité. I was there with my daughters a few years ago and it was raining and cold and we were just exploring and walking and we were just like drown rats, freezing cold. And I walked past this beautiful cafe and in the window someone was eating this big bowl of bolognese. And it just looked so warm and I was so cold. And we went in and it's now my favorite. It's just my absolute favorite place to eat. If you want something a little bit higher end, there is I believe it's 1-star Michelin in the 5th called Solstice.
And when you say in the 5th, you mean the 5th arrondissement?
Yep.
So Paris has how many neighborhoods?
Paris has 20 different districts, arrondissements, and they're numbered 1 through 20, and they're clockwise like a spiral shape starting from the center. And each neighborhood has its own vibe, has its own feel. I'm actually very partial to the 5th. If someone's going for the first time, I do suggest that they stay there. I think it's a wonderful neighborhood.
5th, as it were.
Yeah, take the 5th. Exactly. That is a 1-star Michelin called Solstice. And then there is, in fact, just a few blocks away, if you want something a little bit more country and a little bit more like home cooking, a restaurant called La Forge, Forge. That's phenomenal.
Got it.
Support comes from Wise, the smart way to manage the currencies you need around the globe. Fed up with losing out to hidden fees when you send money abroad with your everyday bank? Choose the smart way, Wise. You can count on the exchange rate you'd usually find on Google. No unwelcome surprises. Plus, ditch that where's my money feeling. Most transfers arrive in under 20 seconds. Join millions saving billions on hidden fees. Be smart, get Wise. Download the Wise app today. T's and C's apply.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
And the 5th would be then on the Rive Gauche.
The 5th is in the Rive Gauche, is the left bank. So the Paris is cut in half, a little bit, not quite 50-50 by the Seine. And so your left bank is a portion of that area that's underneath the river, as it were.
Got it. I would like to get to hidden gems in Paris, but before we do that, anything else that you think, it's my first time there, I really should go here in Paris or even outside of Paris?
Yeah, I think a couple day trips are great. One, if not two. I think your day trips should be Versailles and Giverny. I've seen, to my horror online, I've seen advertising for day trips that include Versailles and Giverny in the same day.
Oh, no.
I would say do not do that. That's crazy. But it is lovely to get outside of the city and decompress just a little bit. The Chateau de Versailles it's Versailles. It's incredible. And again, that's something that you can customize to more of what you're into if you're more interested in architecture and
or gardens,
design. Spend the portion of your time inside. If you're more of a garden, outdoors person, spend your time riding bikes, rent a boat on the Grand Canal with your kids, or you spend that time out there.
But yeah, this is the palace by which all other royals in Europe compared their palace to.
Absolutely.
So, it is not subtle.
It's not subtle, and it does take time. I think the best thing to do is hop on the actual website. Again, I suggest using the website of whatever museum that you're visiting or chateau that you're visiting. Get a feel for everything that they offer. There's lots of different opportunities, from fountain shows to things that are going on in the evening. I personally like what's called the passport ticket.
Okay.
And that allows you access to the gardens, to the chateau, to the Petit Trianon, and lets you have access to the full grounds. And I believe
you said something I didn't understand. The Petit Trianon?
Petit Trianon. So we've got the Chateau de Versailles, and then we have the Trianon, Petit Trianon. You have the Hemo, like where she played the little shepherdess, Marie Antoinette being she.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a huge property, and you've got access to all of that. And on their website, then you can decide, do we want to rent bicycles? Do we want to rent a golf cart? Because it's pretty substantial. If walking super far is not your thing, you might want to rent a golf cart to tool around. There's a lot to do there. And it's a lovely way to spend the day. And you can be the last person out, which is quite nice. I've shut it down before. So it's really beautiful. Second day trip that I would think, if you're going to do one or two, I would do Giverny, which is where Claude Monet's home and gardens are located. And that's officially Normandy, but it's not too far outside of the city. It's easy to get to by train. I will say, just circle back, just for making things easier for someone's first time. To Versailles, I would take an Uber.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's my suggestion. I just find taking the train a lot. It takes a long time. You're looking at taking the metro to connect with the RER, which are the trains that go further outside of the city. Yeah. Sure. And the times can be a little wonky. And then I've found every time I've taken that on the way back, it's just packed. You're on it like sardines. And I find an Uber just much nicer. They just take you right up to the front of the chateau. There's no walking a few blocks to get to the chateau. I think it's a little bit more one and done, especially when time is of the essence. Now, on the contrary, to Giverny, taking the train is no problem. You can book your train tickets at sncf.com. And there's many trains leaving Paris and heading to Vernon. That's your stop, Vernon.
Now, the one trick with Paris trains is there's not a central train station. So Giverny leaves from La Gare du Nord?
It leaves from Saint-Lazare, actually.
Okay. I was guessing, and I was guessing wrong.
Yep. Nope. You're great to bring that up, because I would have forgotten to mention that. So it does leave from Saint-Lazare, and it will take you right to the Vernon stop. And it's so simple. You just get out of the train, walk through the tiny little train station, and you just follow the crowd. You'll see everyone walking 50 yards or so to get on a bus. You can't mess it up.
Cool.
And that bus will take you right out, just a little bit outside of his home's property. And again, you just walk up to the house. It's just spectacular. It's a wonderful way to decompress. I like to do it on my last day. Actually, it's so peaceful. And the gardens are lovely from opening day, which was just recently, through October. I have been there late into October, and they're still going strong. You really can't hit it wrong.
Excellent. What do you recommend people see in Paris that they haven't heard of?
Well, I feel like the conciergerie is one of those things a lot of people haven't heard of. I don't know that many people are that familiar with the Rodin Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people visually, they know the thinker. That's where that is housed. The Rodin Museum is in his former home. It's a mansion. It's beautiful. All sorts of statues, little tiny ones, big ones. It's really quite a lovely place to visit. So that I would say is a more intimate museum. And then something personally, and I will confess I've not been there yet, but just 2 weeks ago, I met the curator of this museum at a lunch, is the Musée de Montmartre. Have you been there?
No, I have not. Oh, I've been to Montmartre, but
yeah, I've not been to this museum, and I've seen it before, like on Instagram Reels or whatever. And then I happened to have lunch with this woman who runs it, and I'm ashamed to say I've never been there. It looks so charming. And I think would really...
I've never been to Giverny, so I don't think ashamed is necessarily...
Oh, for shame. Oh, my goodness. Okay, that's your assignment. Okay.
If you want to feel better about yourself.
Okay.
So.
And then I do think just walking and exploring is really important. Giving yourself time to look down the little alleys, to sit and just stop, have a coffee, watch, look, observe, get up, walk some more. If you see something that looks interesting, there's all sorts of small things to visit. There's, for example, near Saint-Germain-des-Prés, which is, I believe, the oldest church in Paris, there is a lovely cafe. If you go, you have to have the bio burger, which is their organic hamburger. I know it sounds terrible to order a hamburger in France when we can just do that. No problem here. Get the bio burger at the Café Bonaparte, and then just a few doors down is the Delacroix Museum. So not all museums are big and well known. Some of them are tiny, like this Montmartre Museum that I've never been to, and this Delacroix Museum, and the Rodin, which is maybe a little bit bigger, but not near the size even of the Musée d'Orsay. But I think it's important to give yourself time to just explore and check things out for sure, because that's where you stumble upon those little gems.
Do you have a favorite neighborhood or walk or street for just wandering?
So I am partial to the Fifth because I feel, again, it's one of those arrondissements that ticks all the boxes. The left bank, I'm terribly partial to it. The reason is that many of the streets there, when Paris had its Haussmannian overhaul, when so much was modernized and the grids were laid out, much of that didn't happen in the Fifth. So you still have these little streets that were made for pedestrians or horses and little carts. And so they're winding and they're cobblestone. Not everyone wants those big fashion forward boulevards. If you're looking for something a little bit more cozy, you have the Fifth. There you have also the Panthéon. Have you been to the Pantheon?
I think so.
Okay. That's got that fabulous pendulum that sort of swings with the earth in the center. It's a secular church, as it were. And then down below is where everyone famous, from Josephine Baker to Voltaire, is entombed. So that's very interesting. And right next door, the name of that church is going to escape me, but you're on...
Are you doing Saint-Étienne-du-Mont?
Is that what that is? I think so.
Right on Rue Clovis?
Yeah.
Clovy.
And then you can go down that hill and just follow it all the way to the Seine. That's a fabulous walk.
Okay.
And when you get down near the Seine, you're going to be right near those iconic places like Shakespeare and Company, which is a little bookstore. And then back at the beginning of that walk, you're near the Rue Mouffetard, which is this world famous market street that dates back to Roman era. They say that this little road actually was originally part of a road that connected Paris to Lyon and then Italy. So you get into this really ancient part of the city, and it's just fantastic. I'm very partial to the Fifth. Again, that's where that restaurant La Forge is, and Solstice that I recommended.
Well, and if people don't know this area, you're also talking about the area that's portions of it are the Latin Quarter where the Sorbonne is. So it's a
you're right
university area too.
And then second runner-up, I think, would be the Marais, and that's on the right bank. And that's really walkable to places like Notre Dame and the Louvre. It has a real distinct historic charm. It also has medieval winding streets. It's a paradise for people that love fashion. They have those kilo shops where you can buy vintage clothing by the kilo, and lots of individual boutiques. And Again, something that survived that modernization of the city, which I know it's crazy for us to think of Paris being modernized, but it did go through its modernization. But
Sure.
the Marais is where those old magnificent mansions are, those hôtels particuliers, I think they're called. And those are these big old houses that survived that change. So those are nice to see as well.
The one walk that I was pointed out to by the eyewitness guide years ago that I recommend to people that most people haven't done is the Canal de Saint-Martin, which comes right off of the Seine River. And it's just a charming little walk up away from the Seine down into this canal that basically dates back to the industrial age of France.
Yeah, I have not been up there in like 20 years, which is...
I probably haven't either, but...
I haven't been up there in so long, and I think it's been really, for lack of a better expression, like gentrified. A lot has changed, and there's a new cruise that I meant to do a few weeks ago, but there is a new cruise on the Canal Saint-Martin that you can take.
Oh, interesting.
That takes you through, if you read the description online, it says through Old Paris. So I'm very keen to do that myself.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It feels like we're starting to wrap up here. Anything else you would like us to see or do while we're in Paris?
Let's see.
Have a favorite tour, for instance.
I do like the museum pass. I think that's very handy because you have this flexibility of choosing between 1, 2, 3, or 4 days, I think are the options. And once you activate that, it's like a park hopper, like in Disney World, where you get bumped to the front of the line. When you flash that card at some of those museums or the Arc de Triomphe, I remember being there with my family a few years ago, and the line was outrageous. And I just got our little card out and flashed it, and we just went right up to the front. So I think that's really handy to do. As far as tours, something I can include in the show notes is I actually do have that walk from the Panthéon all the way down to the river mapped out for people with stops along the way. So I'd be happy to share that with your audience.
To that blog post.
Yeah, for sure.
The other question is, so we're going to do this episode. It's going to come out. I'm going to get email that says, I can't believe you didn't mention such and such.
For sure.
Which of those, and obviously we can't mention everything, but which did you intentionally skip because you don't recommend them?
Oh, boy. I don't like to feel like cattle when I'm there. Really, when I take someone there for the first time, I opened with Paris is alive and it has a rhythm of its own, and you get to be a part of that rhythm if you want. And I do like this idea of immersing yourself. And that's why I've mentioned stopping, sitting, people watching, getting in line at the bakery, doing the things that you see the Parisians around you doing. It gives you this feeling for the space. And I think it's just as important as visiting the museums myself.
Okay. But are there specific sites you just don't recommend?
Specific sites I don't recommend.
Or tours or...
Yeah, I know we have things like the on-off buses. Again, that makes me feel a little bit herded. That's not something I'm into. Specifically, you do have the boat cruises. I am partial to the dinner cruise because I think it's atmospheric. I think it's a little bit more magical than just getting on a boat midday with 500 other people. It feels a little bit more special.
And you get the lights as well.
And you get the lights. Exactly. Exactly. I wouldn't drive. I wouldn't do the on again, off again bus. I'm sure there's something that I would recoil at the thought of doing, but Chris, it's not coming to
How about the catacombs? There's one that I get asked about.
Yeah, I haven't done those yet. I have to confess. I haven't done those. They're on my list. I will tell you that this is why I haven't done them yet. I always botch it with the tickets. So get them early, like months early. Don't underestimate how early you need to get those tickets. And I would say that about everything. Maybe you went there 25 years ago. Things are different. You can't just show up for things. You do need to go on and get those tickets online for things.
Excellent. One other thing in terms of, you mentioned shopping at one point that I actually recommend as not as a shopping site, but as something you should see is the Galeries Lafayette.
Yes, that's quite lovely.
Which is just the world's prettiest department store. And
it is.
It compares with a lot of fancy churches and other things like that.
Well, you have that stained glass dome. It is really something to behold. It's beautiful.
Very cool.
And the flea markets. That's that's what I started with my business was the flea markets, because I know people are intimidated to do those on their own, but those can't be beat. They're a lot of fun. And again, just observing the culture. I love them for shopping, and I love them for just seeing the way the vendors interact with each other. At Saint-Ouen, which is the big one up north of the city, You'll see them all get out their tables at lunchtime and invite each other over for lunch. And they bring homemade food and put out a white tablecloth. It's so sweet and it's excellent. The flea markets are a lot of fun.
Excellent. Anything else we need to know before we book our ticket to Paris?
Make your list on what your priorities are. Plan your time accordingly. Maybe if you want, take a few refresher or beginner lessons so you can maybe order your food, and maybe like the pronunciation or getting those manners just right is really important to you. Just planning what you want out of the trip is great. There's so many fun things you can do. That I would take a cooking class. Taking a cooking class while you're there is really an excellent experience. There's one at a place called La Cuisine that you can do where you can do a market trip and then buy all your food with the chef. She'll teach you everything about the French food regulations, which are so strict. You don't get to just label your food any way you want to and then take it back to the school and make your meal. That's a phenomenal experience as well. Yeah.
As we get to our wrap-up questions, you're standing in the prettiest spot in all of Paris. Where are you standing and what are you looking at?
I'm going to have to take Giverny off of that because that's not exactly in Paris. I think finding a bridge that speaks to you is great. So the view from any bridge with the Eiffel Tower in the background is going to be excellent. I'm sure I know the name of the bridge I'm thinking of, but it's not coming to mind right now. I do like to walk up and down the river and zigzag back and forth across the bridges. But that view with the Eiffel Tower in the background is wonderful. It's a great place to take pictures too. I think a lot of people wait to get that photograph with the Eiffel Tower till they're over there. And that's really hard to do, to get the whole thing and yourself in the shot. And I think doing that from one of the vantage points of the bridge is excellent and really beautiful.
Excellent. One thing that makes you laugh and say only in Paris.
When they're carrying around the cats or dogs in their purses, it just kills me. When they're walking around with a purse with a little screen in it and they've got their pet in the purse. That's crazy. Yeah.
And if you had to summarize Paris in just 3 words, what 3 words would you pick?
Oh my goodness, Chris, you're putting me on the spot. Paris in 3 words. I would say aesthetically pleasing and heartfelt. And
that's 4, but that's close enough.
Okay, we're gonna forget the and. Aesthetically pleasing, heartfelt. Yeah, and I just think because visually everywhere you look, there's something to take in. You have this juxtaposition where you'll find like a really modern building that's all glass and very modern, but reflected in it is an old apartment building. So you get like 2 at one time. So you're just always coming around the corner and seeing something that just, oh my goodness, that's interesting, or oh my goodness, that's spectacular, oh my goodness, that's beautiful, whether it's a rainbow that pops over the sun after a rainstorm, and then heartfelt. And I do say that because I do find them a very passionate people, and they are proud of their city. And so when they catch on that you're really enjoying yourself or you appreciate it and you're giving honor to this place that they love so much, they warm up to you really fast. It's a very heartfelt experience.
Excellent. Our guest again has been Angela J. Reed from ParisienneFarmgirl.com. And again, for the spelling, check out the show notes. But you have tours, for instance, you're doing in 2027 to Paris that people should check out also, where they're on your website.
Yes,
but
yes.
Is there a blog post we should also send them to that's your best post on Paris?
My most recent ones are going to be antique buying trips, because that is a big focus of what I do. Antique buying trips to Paris, what to do, what not to do. And my specialty is women's small group journeys to France. So a few weeks ago, there was
small as in
one.
8 or less.
Yeah, 8 or less. Yep. And we're focusing on Paris, Champagne, and Provence. So that's my specialty, is these trips that are like culinary and antique focused. And then for private groups,
dirty, thankless job, but somebody's got to do it.
It's just terrible, Chris. It's awful. For private groups, people come to me and they say, okay, I've got 4 couples and we want to go together. Will you be our hostess and take us around? I do that. And then I'm always happy to help people plan their trip to Paris as well. They don't have to go with me, even though I like it when they do.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Angela, thank you so much for coming on Amateur Traveler and sharing with us your obvious love for Paris.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire. The lone wolf, who you thought was a good collaborator because you didn't have the right candidate insights. But once you hired them, it was all hoarding info, declining meetings, and howling at the full moon? But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can go deeper than just the resume to find you a perfect fit by using insights from the LinkedIn network to give you a short list of best fit candidates. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Thanks to Angela, and a special thanks to the patrons of the show who help support Amateur Traveler. If you're interested in learning more about becoming a patron of the show, go to patreon.com/Amateur Traveler. If you're interested in traveling with the Amateur Traveler, or with me, because I guess that's me, then you can learn more about the trip in May of 2027 to Bolivia by going to amateurtraveler.com/trips, or drop me an email and I'll send you information about the trip. We would love to have you. With that, we're going to end this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, send an email to chris2x@gmail.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening.
This episode is brought to you by Google Health. Stop chasing someone else's definition of health. What matters is what's healthy for you. Google Health offers a new kind of coach built with Gemini for effortless tracking, sleep insights, and holistic coaching tailored to you. Visit googlestore.com to learn more and start a new relationship with your health. Requires Google account, Google Health app, internet, and Google Health Premium subscription. Features subject to change. Availability and results vary. Not intended for medical purposes. Works independently of Gemini apps. Check responses for accuracy.
Every act of change begins with a neighbor. When neighbors connect through the Feeding America network, small actions ripple into lasting impact. Feeding America, led by neighbors. Give now to end hunger at feedingamerica.org.